Hello out there to all of you in our kindred circle of hopeless romantics. I am Melissa.
And I'm Julie.
And we're here to share some of our favorite heirlooms that we have either replicated or discovered in different markets all over the world. And so many of them have wonderful stories. So today we're going to tell you some stories. Victorian Trading Company, it really was born out of this love for all things beautiful and authentic, literary-based goods that just speak to you. Psychologically, items that have an intrigue, that are just not mainstream and are very special. And even though many of the stories are passed down by word of mouth, we are here to pass that history on to you because the stories are just too good to be forgotten.
So, okay, we're going to bring up one of our finds, actually from the Paris flea market, and this is the original piece. It is a French lorgnette. You can show them how you.
A lorgnette was an eyepiece that women would wear when they went to the opera, the ballet. Reading close-up, anything. Every well-educated, refined woman possessed one of these. And we came across this one. It's from France. Beautiful, beautiful.
It's got the monogram on the back
it's
from
just
the
gorgeous.
Original owner, doesn't it? Yes,
and
it does.
embossed violets with her initials, whoever she is.
And so we borrowed her treasure and actually made our own, which is... we gave it some purpose, and this is something to help you when you clasp your bracelet on without anyone to help you. And so it has all the exact casting. It was done as a lost wax casting, and the two of them are very, very similar. You can see that they got every detail.
I actually think the replica is prettier.
It is really
beautiful. But it's
beautiful.
violets, and they're cast in wax, and when you take an antique and you dip it in the wax and you cast from that, it preserves every little detail. But for all of you single girls out there who have struggled with putting a bracelet on, you know how this is a necessity, or if he's just not around to help you, it's so indispensable.
So there we are, the Victorian Trading Company.
And so many of our items, they've come from very obscure sources. Julie and I, we love to go to old markets. The Portobello Road in London, the Paris flea market is one of our favorites. And when we go to these places, we like to say that we look under rocks to find items that are just unspeakably unique and have a story. And very often the vendors, they will tell us human interest tales of where these things came from, who owned them, why they were created. And we've got a few of them here.
And one of our greatest joys is when you find something and we know it's something that we're going to get home and to share with our customer base, because we have such a feeling of kinship with our customers that we know that they will enjoy this as much as we do. So it's like we're discovering something to share with our family. And us being sisters, we have this thing where there's just such an excitement. And when we're at these places, we're a little bit manic. And when we find something, there's this thrill. And we have definitely entertained a lot of places with our excitement. But this is one that we found that was it was a little fairy. And so the original was also a necklace, but the detail on her wings,
Art Nouveau.
It is absolutely.
I can see the little
perfect.
Frenchman in my mind right now. He was darling, and he had cases of the most beautiful things, mostly covered with dust, but some of those items had been sitting there for years.
And the more excited we would get, the more excited he would get. And he would go and say, well, if you like that, then you'll love this. And so he would bring out other things. And it's a treasure hunt. And this was one of our
and
favorites.
Julie mentions that we're sisters. There's actually 5 sisters. And Julie's the baby. I'm kind of stuck middle child, third of 5. So no one ever knew I was alive. But the 5 of us, we really have enriched each other. And in so many ways, the other sisters have fueled Victorian Trading Company through their just, shared joy for things that are antiquarian and beautiful. In fact, this is Nana. She is our grandmother, very French. In fact, her real name is May du René. And from the time we were very little girls, we would be so inspired by her. She was beautiful, and she had saucer eyes and long hair that she would pin up, and she would put bluing in her hair to make it really white. And I think from the time we were really little, we were always intrigued by her home and the beautiful, just authentic 1800s feel with lace curtains and velvets and just beautiful surroundings. So,
and actually, our niece, who is a model in our catalog, she's regular in there. You see her name is Kelly, and Kelly is a really kind of a spitting image of Nana. She's got a definite quality, and it's kind of fun because
Kelly
it's like this whole family. It's part of the family. And
Kelly is a quintessential hopeless romantic, and she actually has written much of our copy. She's a songwriter and a poet in her own right, and she is just in so many ways a contributor to Victorian Trading Company.
You've seen her face on our pages, and there's a little bit of Nana in there.
But there's a lot of stories, just so many, and they're interesting and true. So, Julie, you want to tell us about these?
Okay.
This is a really fun story.
This was, these are called coach hides. So this was back in the days of stagecoach travel. Women would be on the stagecoaches, obviously going place to place, and there was a lot of thieving and a lot of robbers along the way, and so anyway, never knew you could have a robber. But so these were actually something that the Victorian ladies designed to cover up their precious gems, and these would clip on the outside of them so that they would be hidden. And baubles or ear bobs were they were just something that people would just wear. The women would just wear them without any kind of, they didn't have any value, but this was something that was specifically to cover up the more meaningful gems.
They were also, they could be used as mourning jewelry as well for bereaved widows. But the beauty of this is that it was a casing, a decorative casing that concealed the precious gem that she had on her ear inside of it, so that she would not entrust her best gems to her humpback trunk on the top of the stagecoach, because she could lose those. These were on her person and they were safe.
And this actually, we had a vendor that made these from just a picture. So we didn't even have an original on this one, but we did the story and knew the research on it and sent them the picture. And our vendor made these absolutely perfectly to be as beautiful as the original. So
that is one thing that is very important to us. And when we find something beautiful and old, and we always hold antiques to be very sacred. They've endured the centuries, and they were the prized possessions of someone. But it's really important to us that the replica is indiscernible from the original. So we stay at it until it has arrived there. Okay, that's a beautiful piece.
It brings us to one of our next ones. So.
A lot of people don't realize, but the Art Deco movement actually, it began in the late 1800s. A lot of times they think that it started, after Art Nouveau and after Queen Victoria's reign. But this is a beautiful, original glass stone that is antique. And we have a vendor who she discovers lots of old stones that she'll find 100 here or 30 here. And so we love the fact that we're able to offer you truly beautiful antiques.
And they're limited editions. So
when they're gone, they're gone.
Melissa wants one and I want one.
Yes. So that's two less in inventory.
And this is another, a completely different version of something that she makes. But this is the Bluebird of Happiness. And it's just, I think she had maybe 65 of them. And we're lucky enough to know this woman. She's in New York City, and she has allowed us to buy out the lots. So these are Victorian Trading Company exclusives. And we had a unicorn before that I know we sold to the unicorn. But it's one of those ways of bringing something really special and unique to our customers.
And that's the other thing too. For over 30 some years, we have developed such beautiful relationships with artisans. Our vendors are like extended family to us, and they know what we are because they are as well, and they get it, and they understand that we want something of quality, that the Victorians, their prized possessions, they would have one pair of boots for 30 years. I mean, they had signature possessions because they were made well to endure.
And our vendors can't wait to show us when they find something that they know that we'll love, because they know that we value authenticity. And so it's a really wonderful relationship, because we all benefit from this, including the customer. So that is that little piece. And should we talk about this one here?
Sure.
This is one of our button bracelets, and so this one has been hand painted. It's actually a Polish hand painted button. So everything you see there, it's not a replica. It's actual hand painted, and they take different things, different remnants, and they put things together. And so buttons obviously were something that the Victorians would even hand down from one generation to the next, and they were very, very precious to the Victorians.
Okay, one of my very favorite stories, it is they're steel cut buttons, aren't they? Steel cut. Mm-hmm. It's just the most. I mean, I can barely tell the story without crying. But during the Civil War, a woman would send her love off to war, off to battle, and she would sew one of her little metal buttons from one of her garments into the cuff or lapel, under his lapel of his uniform. And many of these little buttons, they were called perfume buttons because they would have a little bit of velvet on them. And she would douse her oil, her perfume oil, in, am I getting this right?
Right, to send him off to war with her.
And so when he was in the trenches and missing her and possibly never even seeing her again, he could be aware of her fragrance while he was alone and at war. So anyway, these are the stories. They're good ones, and they're true. So anyway, but this is inspired by the old metal cut and glass buttons. And buttons are a history all in themselves. I mean, for all over Europe and in the United States, people who are experts on these, they can look at one and know exactly when they were created and what factory made them. So they're a history in their own right.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about this?
Sure, let's talk about this one. As far as travel goes, this one is, it's a finding keeper. So I'm kind of a relic person. Whenever I go to a place that I absolutely love it, I'll usually pick up a little stone or a little piece of something.
A memento.
And a little memento, and it's a magnet closure, and you can put a little thing in here of something. It can be from a person that you've loved. It can be a locket of hair. I mean, it could be whatever you have, but it's just a nice little way to bring your experience with you, and it keeps your treasures close. And
souvenirs and artifacts
were huge to the Victorians. In fact, everything they had souvenir on the back. They really, their travel was so important to them that when they did get to go someplace, they would always bring back little treasures from their travel. So this one was inspired by that. Okay.
So your jewelry is so personal. I mean, it becomes your signature trademark. People are tired of seeing me wear this.
Yeah, might as
and
well.
And it's just a vulcanized rubber locket that I found for just $30, $40 somewhere that actually had a man's photograph in it and a little curl of his hair. I don't know who she was and I don't know who he was, but there was something about this that I've treasured it. And so that's what we try to do is just to find things that are they are artifacts, and to cast them authentically and bring them back to you in a time where some things are shoddily crafted. We are using old world methods and dealing with factories who pride themselves on third and fourth generation methods of creating beautiful things.
Well, and we hope that we're bringing new heirlooms, and these were things that they didn't have a lot, but they treasured it, and we consider these things worth treasuring, and we really do. Before it becomes something for Victorian Trading Company, it has to be something that we have felt passionate about and that we have felt that it is worth recreating and bringing in. So they're members of the family. I mean, these pieces all mean something to us.
So generations down the way, your great-granddaughters will probably cherish them. So that is our purpose.
So these are some of our stories, and we hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll have many more.
Many more stories.